This story is told without embellishment by the people who were there, who lived it, who worked it, and who raced it. This is the story of the giants whose shoulders we stand on.
We obviously took a look at Porsche, and back in those days, Porsche had zero advertising budget. And the Porsche notoriety or brand awareness, the brand image was entirely based on factory participation in motorsports. Eberhard von Kuhnheim said, "It is not good for our image to have Schnitzer and Alpina out there on the racetrack being beaten by a bunch of Fords." And I agreed with him. I said, you know, we're premium, we have the better technology, and with the right organization, we can set ourselves up to be consistent winners. The key to creating that entity was if we got Jochen Neerpasch, we could duplicate that success and more, and basically trounce everybody.
Neerpasch was already extremely successful at Ford with the V6 Ford Caprice in European touring car racing. The 1972 crown went to Ford. It was not an easy decision, but Lutz was persuasive. Martin Brandgart came along with Neerpasch and, with Lutz's strong support, the trio created BMW's first homologation special, the 3-litre CSL.
I think it was in January 1972. I got a phone call at home, and it was Bob Lutz who called me, and he did ask me if I could be interested to come over to Munich because they wanted to organize their motorsport activity in a new way. It was so good to have Bob Lutz because everything we wanted, he was strong enough to come through with the projects. Originally we thought to have a contract with Texaco, and Texaco's colors are red. So we thought to combine the colors, blue and white and blue, the Bavarian colors and red, and therefore we came to the stripes red, violet and blue. But finally we didn't get the contract with Texaco, but we thought it's such a nice design, and then we took it.
Now with the works team in addition to tuner Schnitzer and Alpina, the 1973 European touring car title went to BMW. A new era in BMW history was being written, but the story took a different turn as OPEC turned off the tap and the oil crisis became the headlines of the following year. With Lutz able to lay the foundation for BMW's own distribution in the US, BMW Motorsport was called upon to race in support of the soon-to-be incorporated BMW of North America. Neerpasch and a small group of BMW Motorsport technicians headed to America and to the IMSA series. They were nicknamed the Cowboys, in honour of the fact that they were the first Bavarians to tame the Wild West.
We, on the PR side, looked for the right instrument to make our way into that market. And the obvious instrument was the emotion created by motorsports.
And to drive that emotion, BMW enlisted a deep bench of experienced drivers. The Bavarian Hans Stuck, F1's Ronnie Peterson, a young endurance racer Sam Posey, and veteran Brian Redman.
So we took the whole motorsport effort, went to the States, introduced BMW as Bavarian Motor Works and not British Motor Works.
The way to drive a CSL, a touring car in these days, was really active, you know. I mean, nowadays the car don't hardly move like a little bit, but those cars lifted the wheels, the inner wheel in the corner, and you had to go sideways, you had to go with oversteer. That's why the mechanics liked this, because when they came to the pit stop, there were no bugs on the windscreen, they all were on the side of the door, which was really neat for them, you know. But you really had to drive these cars, sitting in this car, feeling the wheels going up, and also with the wheels in the air, you could clip the clubs much better, you know.
And you could use that to your advantage. Like at Watkins Glen, there was one particular corner where there was a curving like that. You could aim right at the curb and not touch it. And that gained you, 2 or 3 feet of road.
We used to fly groups of 20 journalists of different European countries to each one of the races. When we gathered at the Frankfurt airport, I could give each one of them brake discs or injector nozzles or whatever the team had needed in order to get them through customs in New York.
In early 1975, the BMW team took up residence in Hueytown, Alabama, in a shop owned by NASCAR legend Bobby Allison.
In the area of Bobby Allison's workshop there was enough, let's say, motorsport industry which we could use, so we finally decided to go there, and it was quite a good location for us.
Very, very funny town, a very small town. You know, we stayed at the NASCAR heroes place, Bobby and Tony Allison.
Home was our base, was in Hueytown, Alabama, and the things we experienced there, how nice the people were, our neighbors were, and the time we spent there, I can just sum it up and say, sweet home, Alabama.
The whole time it was our home, it was Sweet Home Alabama.
The song, Sweet Home Alabama, is still in my ears.
The 1975 IMSA season would be no cakewalk. Peter Perfect Gregg led a Porsche contingent that was very strong and very fast. John Greenwood had a monster Corvette that was loud and fast as hell. Luckily for the rest of the field, the car didn't always live up to the promises made by its creator. One of the largest crowds ever to see the 24 Hours of Daytona was cheering and clapping the show on with abandon, and with good reason, since IMSA's Camel GT Challenge teams were putting on one of the best long-distance performances ever seen. With Peterson and Redman in one car, and Stoke and Posey sharing the other, the 24-valve cross-flow engines screamed loud enough and long enough to put the cars in the second and third grid positions, and the one car into the lead of the race for 230 laps. It was clear the team intended to run hard all the way. But as the race wore on and the cars broke, Peterson's broke very early, just 2 laps after his first pit stop, Posey was in the second car when it did the same thing. One look by the mechanics was sufficient to convince Neapash that the team was finished for the night. Auto Week, February the 8th, 1975.
Daytona was really a hard time. It was the first race for us over there, and we never raced on bankings, and it was all new for us, you know.
We had no time to learn, so we were really thrown into the ice-cold water with the regulations. Our electric equipment didn't fit into the sockets, the tools only worked on the German car, so it was a hell of a time for the guys. It was a hell of a time for the drivers also to learn what American motorsport means. It's a different culture,
The BMW team had made some changes since Daytona, the most important coming in the engines. The new design was forced by failures of the old design in both cars at Daytona. Auto Week, March the 29th, 1975.
Le Mans is probably the most famous of the long distance races, but it's a much easier race than either Daytona or Sebring. And I always thought that Sebring, although it was only 12 hours opposed to Daytona 24, was a more difficult race. The track was always very rough and bumpy, and it's still quite bumpy today. And there were a lot of things going on. I mean, one year a pig ran across the road and got killed by a race car. It was really like the Wild West, it was. But it was a famous race and still is today.
Uns wurde gesagt, wenn wir nach Sebring kommen, sollen wir uns Cowboystiefel kaufen, weil da gibt es noch Schlangen. Ne? Und dann haben wir uns versucht, diese Stiefel zu kaufen und haben sie auch gekauft. Ne? Bloß die meinen haben nicht so richtig gepasst. Ne? Aber keine Schlangen haben wir auch nicht gesehen. Also haben wir die Cowboystiefel eigentlich gar nicht gebraucht.
And before the race, Neapash got us all together. Then he said, Hans, I wish you to go out and break the Porsches. And Brian, he said, take care and win the race. And that's exactly what happened.
No other car was capable of matching the 3-litre CSL in speed. The BMW went effortlessly onto the checkered, with all 4 drivers taking a turn at the wheel before the race ended. Auto Week, March the 29th, 1975.
It was a fantastic victory. All 4 drivers got on the car, standing on the roof, standing on the hood, everything, and a great celebration afterwards.
It was not a surprise that we did win in Sebring, because after Daytona we did know that we are competitive. We did know our cars, we did know that the cars are reliable, so it was really not a surprise. But of course for us then we started to be less nervous for the rest of the season.
For the BMW team, Road Atlanta will not conjure up any happy memories. The team was looking forward to the 2 100-mile heats coming off its victory at Sebring. Stuck never made the race. During the afternoon qualifying session, he was coming down the long back straight when he hit a patch of oil. The German star suddenly found himself travelling backwards at a high rate of speed. Stuck hit the guardrail and then the bank and sustained heavy damage to the back half of the car.
We had a big shunt, and 5 days later we had to leave for Laguna Seca, so a lot of work.
Learning by doing, but it was hard to learn by doing, no risk, no fun. If a race driver doesn't crash, he is not fast, but it wasn't a good time for the boys.
Everybody had to do everything there because we are so limited number of people. When we did the wheel change, I was at the front wheel and Otto was at the rear wheel. We had to put the stickers on, we had to change the engine, we had to do the tires, we had to do everything. So.
They stopped working and they started driving with a transporter for the next race.
When we get tired, we have to change driver, and we did this driving. So I get up and Rudi was behind me, sit down on the seat, and then he took the steering wheel and I fell asleep.
Stuck stormed into the lead. Greg passed him on the second lap. Stuck repassed on the third and this time made it stick. Greg never got near him again. Auto Week, May the 10th, 1975.
Laguna was kind of the real breakthrough to show and to prove that BMW is capable of winning IMSA races, because then we had won a long distance race, won a sprint race, beat the Porsche, beat the Corvette with much more horsepower that we beat with our fantastic road holding and with our engineers and our team, and that was a real breakthrough for the BMW team in the States.
Jochen Neerpasch was confident. Several hours before qualifying began for the Camel GT at Riverside, someone asked him how things were going. "I would not want to say that we were going to win," replied the BMW team manager, "but this track is perfect for our cars. The Porsches may pick up a little back there," he gestured through the smoke to turn 6, "but out here, the long straight and the sweeping turn 9, here they cannot catch us." Auto Week, May the 17th, 1975.
This was the first time that Mr. von Kuhnheim was joining us at the race. I saw him watching the race and I saw him that he was very proud of what was happening there. So it was a great moment for us.
I drove the motorhome with Muki to California, and Jochen Neerpasch told us, "Oh, the big bosses are coming, Mr. Schönbeck, Mr. von Kuhnheim, so when they come, please take good care of them." So yeah, it was Thursday, and Mr. von Kuhnheim came, Mr. Schönbeck came, and they all want to sit in the motorhome. And I had to go, before the weekend started, to the dumping station to empty the holding tank. I said, "Gentlemen, we have some work to do. Whether you stay here or you come with me to do some service." "Oh, no, we come with you." Mr. von Kuhnheim, Mr. Schönbeck had to hold the pipe, and all the shit came out, So it was so funny. Okay, we brought the motorhome back. Neerpasch came. He almost killed me. He said, "Are you crazy? How can you go with the big bosses to the dumping station?" Okay, anyway, they really enjoyed it because it showed them how we are working there, and sometimes good work, sometimes bad work.
Now with 3 wins, the team raced through the summer with their share of hardships and success. Lime Rock, Mid-Ohio. Then Motorsport with only Redman in competition while the team focused on Le Mans with a CSL painted by artist Alexander Calder, the car that would become the first of BMW's art car collection. Back to Daytona for the Paul Revere 250 and a winning ride by Stuck. A monsoon at Talladega gave US fans their first look at Stuck the Rainmeister with another win. The last race of the 1975 IMSA season would see teams make their third visit to Daytona. BMW Motorsport would go all in, running a CSL for Posey, Redman and Stuck. John Greenwood's Corvette would finally have its day. Peter Gregg and Porsche would take the championship again. The title would not be BMW's, but the company, now without a doubt known as Bavarian Motor Works, had proven to the US market that it produced an exceptional automobile. BMW has reshuffled its priorities for 1976, and there have been changes in its racing plans as a result. Besides the addition of Peter Gregg, BMW will campaign 3-litre CSL coupes in the FIA World Manufacturer Races next year, with drivers to be Hans Stuck, Sam Posey, Brian Redman and Ronnie Peterson. Concurrent with the American and FIA programme is the development of the mid-engine GT, which Jochen Neerpasch says will take 3 years. One reason the preparation of the American car is being handed over to Gregg. Auto Week, December the 27th, 1975. 1976 was highlighted by Gregg, Redman and John Fitzpatrick winning the 24 Hours of Daytona. Jochen Neerpasch's BMW M1 would ultimately become a revered supercar. BMW of North America Inc. picked up the torch and would continue to race successfully for 4 decades, driving BMW to be the #1 selling luxury brand in the United States.
I think especially for a brand like BMW, which built its reputation on total performance and the excellence of the driving experience. The racing has always been at the core of BMW's image for being a better car or being the ultimate driving machine. A lot of people in BMW engineering were accomplished race drivers, and they regarded racing as an essential tool to drive the brand forward. And the customers respected it. I think it's inconceivable for any brand whose primary appeal is you get more with our car, and the more you get is not size or features, it's driving dynamics and performance and mechanical excellence. That promise and that delivery can, in my judgment, only be maintained by a consistent and successful racing effort.